Ever wondered why some gardeners in urban settings across Europe manage to harvest these lovely, thick-walled bell peppers from their plants, while yours might stay a bit small and disappointing? I am going to share the one thing that most people skip, and it is affecting their harvest in a noticeable way. Stick with me, because in the next few minutes, you will get the practical steps I use to grow bell peppers that develop a good size with nice flavor, especially suited to our European conditions. There is also a useful feeding tip at the end that can help support your plants in producing a decent amount of fruit without any fuss. Bell peppers can be truly rewarding when you provide the right conditions for them in your garden. That satisfying crunch and those vibrant colors hanging from healthy plants really make sustainable urban gardening so enjoyable. Honestly, once you understand what these plants actually require, growing decent bell peppers becomes much more straightforward. It is simply about giving them a solid foundation right from the beginning, using methods that fit into city life. The wonderful thing about peppers is that they are not nearly as fussy as some gardeners assume. They just need a few key things handled thoughtfully, and they will reward you with a good supply of sweet fruits that can make your neighbors take notice in a positive way. So let me walk you through exactly how I do this step by step in my own limited urban plot here in Europe. Before we go any further, if you are serious about getting better outcomes in your garden, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I share practical growing tips every single week here at Sprout Cycle Garden, and you would not want to miss what is coming up next. Now, let us keep going with the details. Here is where most people tend to start off on the wrong foot when growing in small spaces. They do not prepare their seedlings properly before planting them out in pots or raised beds. If your pepper starts to look even slightly stressed or a little wilted, do not simply push them into the ground or container and hope for the best. I see this quite often on balconies and allotments across our cities. People get excited to get their plants in place, and they skip this crucial preparation step. Take a bucket, fill it with collected rainwater if you have it, or tap water that has been left to stand, and let those root balls soak for about 15 to 20 minutes. This hydrates the entire root system thoroughly and gives your plant a much better chance to establish itself quickly once it is in the soil or container. You want those roots fully saturated before they hit the growing medium, because transplant shock is something that can set your plants back noticeably for weeks in our variable European weather. Now I am going to share something that might sound a bit out of the ordinary, but I promise you it has worked well for me in practice. Drop about a tablespoon of regular white sugar into that soaking water. I know it might come across as an old wives' tale, but that sugar can provide the plant with an instant bit of energy to help it along. Think about it. Plants make sugar through photosynthesis, so giving them a little directly is a bit like offering a gentle jumpstart to their system, especially after the stress of being moved. I have watched seedlings go from looking rather droopy to perked up and ready to grow after just one soak like this. It is like giving them a small, encouraging lift before they face the garden environment. The leaves firm up, the stems straighten out, and you can almost see the plant responding positively to the care. Once they have had that drink, they are primed and ready to go into their final position. And here is another thing. While those seedlings are soaking, take that time to really examine them closely. Check for any damaged leaves, any signs of pests or disease that might be starting. This is your opportunity to catch problems early before they are placed in the soil or pot. If you see any yellowing on the lower leaves, go ahead and pinch those off carefully. Dead or damaged foliage is just going to drain energy from the plant, and you want all that energy directed towards root establishment and healthy new growth instead. Now, let us talk about planting depth, because this is quite critical, and it is where a good number of people make an arrow in urban setups. You might have that you can bury tomatoes cutically like two purs of the stem underground. But do not do that peppers, as they are different. Peppers do not develop those extra roots along the stem in the same way tomatoes do. So burying them too deep can invite trouble, mainly stem rot and fungal issues, which can be more common in damper European summers. What I do is dig my holes or prepare my pots about 15 to 20 centimeters deep and position the plant so the first set of true leaves sits just above the soil line. You are burying a bit of that lower stem, which can encourage some additional root development, but you are not going so deep that you risk those rot problems. The whole point here is building a strong, stable root system that can support the plant when it starts to produce fruit later on. Think about it. A single bell pepper plant can easily hold several good-sized fruits at once. That is quite a bit of weight for a small urban container or raised bed. If your root system is weak or shallow, the plant is going to struggle. It might drop some flowers, it might produce smaller fruits, or it might even become unstable when you get a strong wind or heavy rain, which we often have. So getting this planting depth right is absolutely foundational to everything that follows in your sustainable setup. One more thing about planting depth. Make sure you are not creating a depression or bowl shape around the plant. You want the soil level to be even or very slightly raised in a gentle mound. If you create a dip, water is going to pool around the stem, and that is asking for rot issues over time. Keep it level or mounded, and you will avoid a lot of potential headaches down the road in your garden. Before I even think about setting that plant in the hole or pot, I add a couple of natural amendments that honestly make all the difference in the world for sustainable growth. First thing, about a tablespoon of wood ash, if you have access to it from a clean wood-burning stove or fireplace. Now, if you have that in your home, you have a constant supply of this material. Just make sure it is from untreated wood. No painted or pressure-treated stuff, nothing like that. Pure wood ash is loaded with potassium and calcium carbonate. The potassium is great for fruit development, helping your peppers to size up nicely and develop thicker walls. Without enough potassium, you can end up with thinner-walled peppers that feel a bit papery. The calcium acts as insurance against a problem I will explain shortly. But here is the thing about wood ash. It also raises soil pH slightly. So if you have acidic soil, this helps balance that out naturally. Peppers prefer their pH somewhere between 6.0 and 6.8, and wood ash can assist you in hitting that spot without chemicals. If you do not have wood ash around, you can use crushed eggshells instead, which are perfect for urban gardeners as they come from your kitchen waste. Eggshells are full of calcium, and they break down slowly to provide a steady supply. Or you could use bone meal if you prefer something from the garden center, but I like to keep things as homemade as possible for sustainability. Bone meal ground animals' bones, but it's packed with phosphorus with drive root development and encourages plowering and pruning. It is that middle number in NPK fertilizers. When you add it at planting time, you are giving those roots what they need to expand and establish quickly in your limited space. I usually go with about a teaspoon per plant, and a bag lasts a long time if you buy it. Here's how I apply them. Mix your amendments into the soil at the bottom of that planting hole or pot. I really work it in. I do not just sprinkle it on top. Get your hands in there and mix it thoroughly with the native soil or peat-free compost. Then, and this is important, add a thin layer of plain soil on top, maybe an inch or so the roots are not sitting directly on concentrated amendments. That can burn them. You want those nutrients available in the root zone, but you do not want direct contact with the roots when you first plant. Set your pepper plant in place, making sure it is at the right depth like we talked about. Fill in around the root ball with your native soil or compost mix. And, as you are filling, firm it up gently with your hands. You do not want to pack it down hard. You are not making concrete here, but you want to eliminate air pockets. Air pockets can cause roots to dry out and die. Once it is planted, give it a gentle tug. If the plant moves easily, you need to firm the soil a bit more. It should be snug and stable. That simple step sets the stage for everything that comes after in your urban garden. All right, let us talk about one of the most common disappointments you can run into with peppers: blossom end rot. You will spot it as a dark, sunken area on the bottom of your pepper, usually while it is still green and growing. It starts small, maybe just a little brown spot, but it spreads and gets worse. The pepper becomes unusable, really. You have put all this time and effort into growing this plant, and then this happens. It is absolutely frustrating, and I have been there myself in past seasons. It looks like some kind of disease took hold, but it is not. It is a calcium deficiency, plain and simple. Here's the frustrating part. Your soil might have plenty of calcium in it, but if your pH is off, or if you are watering inconsistently, the plant can't not full calcium ups through its roots. It is rocked out. The calcium is there, but it is not available to the plant. Soil pH is huge for nutrient availability, which is why I mentioned that wood ash or eggshells earlier. They help with both calcium supply and pH balance in a natural way. Drought stress is one of the biggest triggers for this in our European summers. When the soil dries out and then gets soaked and then dries out again, the plant cannot maintain steady calcium uptake. Calcium moves through the plant with water, so if water movement is erratic, calcium movement is erratic, and blossom end rot is the result. By adding that wood ash or crushed eggshells or bone meal right at planting time like I just showed you, you are putting a calcium reserve right where the roots can access it. That goes a long way toward preventing blossom end rot before it ever shows up. But the other half of the equation, the part that really seals the deal, is consistent watering. And that is exactly what I am about to show you how to nail in a sustainable way. Consistent does not mean daily. It means regular and deep. It is better to water less frequently but deeply than to water lightly every day. Deep watering encourages deep root growth, and deep roots are more drought tolerant and better able to access nutrients in your pots or beds. Here is the thing about watering bell peppers. They absolutely hate getting their leaves and stems wet. Wet foliage is an open invitation for fungal diseases, bacterial spot, all kinds of problems you do not want creeping into your garden. I have seen entire pepper crops affected by bacterial leaf spot that started because people were overhead watering in humid conditions. The bacteria spread through water droplets, and before you know it, your plants are covered in these ugly lesions and dropping leaves left and right. Surface watering also creates this hard crust on top of the soil that you constantly have to break up, and it does not get water deep down where the roots actually need it. Most of the water just runs off or evaporates before it penetrates. You end up using way more water than you need to, and your plants are still thirsty. It is inefficient, and it is setting you up for problems, especially when water conservation matters in urban areas. So here's the system I have been using for years, and it is honestly a practical solution. Grab an old plastic pot or even a plastic bottle, something you were going to throw out anyway to keep things sustainable. I like using those black nursery pots that plants come in because they are durable and they have got a nice depth to them. Poke several holes in the sides and the bottom. I'm talking maybe 10 to 15 holes scattered all around. You want enough holes that water can seep out steadily, but not so many that it all drains out immediately. I use a drill with a small bit, but you can use a hammer and nail if that is what you have got. Just make sure the holes are big enough that they will not clog with soil or compost. Then bury that container in the ground or pot right next to your pepper plant, as close to the root zone as you can get without damaging the roots. When you are planting, you can actually set this up at the same time you are putting the pepper in the ground or container. Just dig a spot about 15 centimeters away from the plant. Sink that pot in there and you are good to go. Leave the top rim sitting just above the soil surface so you can find it easily and so soil does not wash into it. When it is time to water, you pour the water directly into that buried container, fill it up, and then watch what happens. The water seeps out slowly through all those holes and goes straight down to the root zone where it is needed most. It is like drip irrigation, but free, and made from stuff you already have in your recycling. The surface of your soil stays dry, your foliage stays dry, and your roots get a deep, thorough soaking every single time. No runoff, no waste, no mess on your balcony. I have been doing this for years now, and the difference it makes in plant health and fruit size is noticeable. My peppers stay healthier all season long, and I am pulling better fruits consistently. I can also tell when my plants need water by checking that buried pot. If it is dry, it is time to water. If there is still moisture in there, I can wait another day or two. It takes the guesswork out of watering, which is huge because overwatering and underwatering are both major issues for pepper growers in small spaces. Another benefit I have noticed, my plants develop deeper root systems with this method. Because the water is going down deep, the roots follow, and deep-rooted plants are more resilient. They can handle heat better, they can handle drought better, and they are more stable in the ground or on windy balconies. Shallow-rooted plants are constantly stressed because those surface roots dry out fast. Deep roots tap into moisture reserves further down in the soil profile, which is perfect for our unpredictable European weather. Now here is that bonus tip I promised you, and this one is a real help if you want to get the most from your harvest in your urban garden. Once your plants start pushing out flowers, give them a light feeding of Epsom salt, which is a simple, natural way to support them. You have probably got Epsom salt sitting in your bathroom cupboard right now, ready to use in the garden. It is the stuff people use for soaking sore muscles after a long day, and the same thing works wonders in the garden for sustainable growing, without any harsh chemicals. Dissolve 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt in a gallon of water, or about 4 liters, and use that to water your plants about once every 2 to 3 weeks during the flowering and fruiting stage.
If salt provides magnesium, and magnesium is crucial for chlorophyll production, which keeps the leaves a lovely deep green. Chlorophyll is what all-roust plants to convert sunlight into energy through photosynthesis. Even on those cloudy days we get so often in Europe. More chlorophyll means more energy production, which means more vigorous growth and more fruit production in your limited balcony or allotment space. It helps the plant photosynthesize more efficiently and improves its ability to take up other nutrients from the soil or your homemade compost. Magnesium also plays a role in enzyme activation, protein synthesis, and all kinds of metabolic processes that keep the plant healthy and productive. Since I started adding this to my routine, I have noticed my pepper plants set more fruit, noticeably more, and the fruits themselves are bigger and thicker-walled. The plants just look healthier overall, with leaves that are darker green and more robust. They seem to handle stress better, even in our variable European climate with its sudden rain or heat spikes. It is such a simple datchet trick, and it genuinely pays off in a big way for sustainable gardening. A box of Epsom salt costs a couple of pounds and lasts for an entire season, which is great for keeping costs down on the allotment or balcony. You can also use this as a foliar spray if you want to see quicker results in your setup. Just dissolve a tablespoon in a gallon of water and spray it on the leaves early in the morning or late in the evening when the sun is not intense. The plants above it through their lives, and you get even pasture of take which can be handy in shorter growing seasons. But I prefer soil application because it is less work and there is no risk of burning the leaves if you apply it at the wrong time of day. One more thing I want to mention is spacing, which is especially important in urban gardens where space is at a premium. Do not crowd your pepper plants together, even if you are tempted to squeeze in one more on the balcony. I see people trying to pack as many plants as possible into a small raised bed or container, and it never works out well in the long run. Peppers need good air circulation to stay healthy and avoid diseases that spread in humid British or European summers. I space mine about 18 to 24 inches apart in the row, and I leave at least 24 to 36 inches between rows. This gives each plant room to spread out nicely without competing for light or nutrients. It allows air to flow through the canopy, which reduces disease pressure, and it makes harvesting so much easier on your plot. You can actually get in there and see what you are doing without trampling neighboring plants. Good spacing also means each plant gets adequate sunlight, which is vital in cities with buildings casting shadows. If they are too close together, they shade each other out, and the lower leaves do not get enough light.
Those lower leaves are important as they are feeding the plant throughout the season. When they do not get light, they yellow and drop off, and your plant has less photosynthetic capacity overall. Give them space, and they will reward you with better growth and bigger yields even in a small, sustainable setup. So, that is everything you need to know to grow massive, beautiful bell peppers this season in your European urban garden. The pre-planting soak with sugar to revive stressed seedlings and give them an energy boost. The right planting depth at 6 to 8 true-leafed 지오라인 위에서 자라야 한다. 나무 앳 또는 crushed eggshell을 사용해 칼슘과 포스포러스가 꽃 끝서금과 뿌리 발달을 막는다. 묻은 흙에 물을 주면 된다. Development. That buried pot watering system to keep roots hydrated and foliage dry while promoting deep root growth. The Epsom salt boost during fruiting to enhance chlorophyll production and nutrient uptake.
And proper spacing to ensure good air circulation and adequate sunlight. Do those things and you are setting yourself up for the kind of harvest that makes all the effort worth it in your city garden. These are not complicated tricks or expensive inputs at all. This is just smart foundational gardening that gives your plants what they actually need to thrive using recycled materials and kitchen waste where possible. And when you give them what they need, they respond beautifully. You will see it in the plant vigor and the fruit size and the yields over the season. Your peppers will be thick-walled, sweet, and abundant, perfect for fresh salads or roasting on the barbecue with friends. If this helped you out, make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the next video on sustainable urban growing. And hey, I genuinely love to hear from you in the comments below. What is your biggest challenge growing bell peppers in your European setup? Or, if you have got a tip that has worked for you, share it down below. We are all learning from each other here, and some of the best advice I have got has come from viewers sharing their experiences from different countries. Thanks so much for watching, and happy gardening, everyone.